Summer is here, and everything you need for adventure is waiting at shockshop.us. Gear up with camping essentials, stylish bathing suits for fun in the sun, reliable generators for every outdoor trip, kayaks, dinghies, and water toys for non-stop excitement. From backyard fun to lakeside escapes, shackshop.us has it all. Shop the summer sale now and save big at shackshop.us.
Hollywood has lost another towering figure from its golden era. Anne Blyth, the elegant and versatile actress who became immortalized through her chilling performance in the 1945 classic Mildred Pierce, has died at the age of 98. Her passing marks the end of a life that stretched across nearly a century of entertainment history, from the rise of the studio system to the modern age of cinema nostalgia. Her name may not always be the first mentioned among Hollywood's most famous legends, but her impact on film history is undeniable. For many classic film enthusiasts, Anne Blyth will forever be remembered as Veda Pierce, one of the most complex, manipulative, and unforgettable characters ever brought to the screen during Hollywood's golden age. Born Anne Marie Blyth on August 16, 1928, in Mount Kisco, New York, she entered the world at a time when cinema itself was still evolving. Sound films were relatively new, color was still a luxury, and the studio system was beginning to shape the dreams of millions. From an early age, Blyth showed an extraordinary talent for performance. She was drawn not only to acting, but also to music, training as a soprano with ambitions that once leaned toward opera rather than Hollywood fame. Her childhood was marked by discipline and artistic training, and she developed a strong vocal ability that would later influence her early screen roles. Even before she became a household name, it was clear that Anne Blyth possessed a rare combination of beauty, vocal talent, and dramatic instinct. Her journey into Hollywood was almost accidental, yet it would change the course of her life forever. While still a teenager, Blyth was performing in stage productions when she was noticed by talent scouts in Los Angeles. A screen test followed, and soon she found herself under contract in the powerful studio system that defined Hollywood in the 1940s. At just 15 years old, she was already stepping into an industry filled with expectations, pressure, and opportunity. The transition from stage performer to film actress was swift, and within a year she was being cast in major motion pictures. But everything changed in 1945. That was the year Anne Blyth was cast in Mildred Pierce, directed by the legendary Michael Curtiz, a filmmaker already known for classics such as Casablanca and The Adventures of Robin Hood. The film would become one of the defining works of the decade, and it would forever link Blyth's name to one of cinema's most intense mother-daughter relationships ever depicted. In Mildred Pierce, Blyth played Veda Pierce, the ambitious, manipulative, and deeply troubled daughter of the title character, portrayed by Joan Crawford. The role required a level of emotional intensity that was rare for such a young actress. Blyth was only 16 at the time, yet she delivered a performance that stunned audiences and critics alike. Veda is not a simple villain. She is complex, resentful, and driven by ambition and social aspiration. She looks down on her mother's working-class efforts, despite benefiting from them, and ultimately becomes a symbol of emotional betrayal and moral collapse. Anne Blyth's portrayal brought this character to life with remarkable precision. Her performance was cold when it needed to be, emotional when required, and disturbingly believable throughout. She did not simply act the role, she embodied it. One of the most memorable aspects of the film is the tension between Blyth and Joan Crawford. Their on-screen dynamic is electric, filled with emotional volatility and psychological conflict. In one famously intense scene, Veda physically strikes her mother, a moment that shocked audiences at the time and remains powerful even by modern standards. The film itself became a massive success. Mildred Pierce received widespread critical acclaim and earned multiple Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Joan Crawford won the Oscar for Best Actress, marking a career-defining comeback. Anne Blyth and co-star Eve Arden were both nominated for Best Supporting Actress, cementing Blyth's arrival as one of Hollywood's most promising young talents. Despite the film's success, Blyth's life and career soon faced an unexpected setback. Not long after Mildred Pierce, she suffered a serious injury in a toboggan accident, breaking her back. The injury temporarily slowed her career momentum during a crucial period in her rise to stardom. For many actresses in Hollywood at the time, such a setback could have ended a career entirely. However, Anne Blyth proved resilient. As she recovered, she gradually returned to acting and diversified her roles. Unlike many performers who became typecast after a breakout performance, Blyth demonstrated impressive range across multiple genres. She transitioned into musicals, historical epics, comedies, and dramatic roles with ease. Her operatic training became an asset, particularly in musical films. She possessed a natural soprano voice, and early in her career, she often performed her own singing parts. This made her especially valuable to studios producing musical features, which were extremely popular in the 1940s and 1950s. Throughout the late 1940s and 1950s, Blyth appeared in a wide variety of films alongside some of Hollywood's biggest stars. She worked with Burt Lancaster in Brute Force, Mickey Rooney in Killer McCoy, and Bing Crosby in Top of the Morning. Each role showcased a different side of her abilities, from dramatic tension to light-hearted charm. In 1948, she starred in Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, a whimsical fantasy comedy in which she played a mythical sea creature. The role allowed her to display both her comedic timing and her ability to embrace unusual, imaginative storytelling. The early 1950s saw Blyth continuing to build a strong filmography. She appeared in The Great Caruso alongside Mario Lanza, a major musical success that highlighted her connection to operatic traditions. She also acted in The World in His Arms with Gregory Peck, further solidifying her place among Hollywood's elite leading actresses. Another notable performance came in 1 Minute to Zero opposite Robert Mitchum, a war drama that reflected the growing seriousness of post-war cinema themes. Her ability to move between genres made her a valuable and respected performer within the studio system. Despite her success, not all aspects of her career were under her control. Like many actresses of her era, she faced decisions made by studios regarding her voice, roles, and public image. In some cases, even her singing was dubbed in later films, despite her strong vocal abilities. By the mid-1950s, she continued to take on diverse roles, including appearances in The Student Prince and Kismet. These productions further demonstrated her adaptability, though the changing landscape of Hollywood was beginning to shift away from the studio-driven system that had defined her early career. Her final film role came in 1957 in The Helen Morgan Story, where she starred alongside Paul Newman. Even in her final cinematic appearance, Blyth remained a compelling screen presence. However, by this point, she was gradually stepping away from film acting. Unlike many Hollywood stars, whose careers fade due to scandal or decline in popularity, Anne Blyth's transition away from the screen was more personal and gradual. She chose to focus on her family life after marrying businessman James McNulty, with whom she had 5 children. Their marriage lasted for decades until his passing in 2007. Although she largely stepped away from major film roles, Blyth did not completely disappear from the entertainment world. She made occasional television appearances over the years, including guest roles in anthology series such as The Twilight Zone during the 1960s. Her final screen appearance came in the 1980s with a role in Murder, She Wrote, marking the quiet end of a long and varied performance career. Beyond her filmography, Anne Blyth became increasingly appreciated by film historians and classic cinema enthusiasts. As decades passed, Mildred Pierce in particular gained renewed recognition as one of the defining noir-influenced melodramas of its era. Blyth's performance as Veda was frequently re-examined and praised for its psychological depth and emotional complexity. Film historians often emphasize that while Joan Crawford's performance won the Oscar and carried the film's public recognition, it was Anne Blyth's portrayal that gave the story its emotional core. Without Veda, the tragedy of Mildred Pierce would not carry the same weight. Director Michael Curtis himself was known for instilling confidence in his young actress. According to later interviews, Blyth credited Curtis for helping her believe in her abilities during the demanding production. That support helped shape one of the most important performances of her career. As time passed, Anne Blyth became something of a quiet legend, less present in public life, but deeply respected within the world of classic cinema. She represented a generation of Hollywood performers who worked within the studio system, mastered their craft, and then stepped away from fame without scandal or controversy. Her legacy is defined not only by the number of films she made, over 30 during her active years, but by the lasting impact of her most iconic role. Veda Pierce remains one of the most studied and discussed characters in film history, a benchmark for portrayals of toxic family dynamics and psychological drama. Even in later years, Blyth occasionally reflected on her career and the role that defined her. She acknowledged the intensity of Mildred Pierce and the unique experience of working alongside Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's most formidable personalities. Now, with her passing at the age of 98, Anne Blyth leaves behind a legacy that spans nearly a century of cultural change. From the golden age of studio cinema to modern-day retrospectives, her work continues to be rediscovered by new generations of viewers. She is survived by her children and extended family, and remembered by film lovers around the world who continue to revisit her performances with admiration. Anne Blyth's story is ultimately one of talent, resilience, and timeless screen presence. She may have stepped away from Hollywood decades ago, but her performances remain permanently preserved in film history. And for audiences revisiting Mildred Pierce, one thing remains clear even today. Anne Blyth didn't just act in Hollywood's golden age, she helped define it.